All right, first off, I just want to thank you for coming. This is a big reason why I came to college in the first place, and specifically this college, just to get my view changed. Like, I've been all over the political spectrum in the last 4 years. I've been libertarian, I've been MAGA, and recently I've been shifting left, probably in like the last 2 years. So yeah, just thank you a lot for coming here.
Yeah, thank you.
So at least the way I see morality, I'm not religious personally, is that like we have these moral intuitions, and then we try to justify them and create a unified moral framework. Like, for example, if you ask a 12-year-old what they think morality is, or like why human beings have value, they'll say consciousness, or let's start with the most simple, life. But then obviously we know that killing a human isn't the same as killing a hamster. So then we're like, okay, maybe it's a higher level of consciousness. But then from there we're like, okay, we can't just kill vegetables, we can't kill people who are asleep, for example, like you said. So then where we come to, like you said, is we come to human life, which starts at conception. I'm not disagreeing with you there. But then I think that me and a lot of other people, especially in the developed world, find that like these fetuses from conception to like 4 to 6 months, we have this moral intuition that they're just not the same as a human life, right? Like if I had to choose between saving a human and saving a fetus, I'd obviously choose the human, right? If I had the choice between saving a fetus and saving a dog, I'd be pretty torn up about that. So I think then obviously I think we need to challenge that framework that what gives people like these human rights starts at conception, because that's why I personally arrived to the somewhat arbitrary, like I think all these lines are arbitrary, the somewhat arbitrary line that starts at like 4 to 6 months, defined by viability, because to me, just my moral intuitions and a lot of other people's moral intuitions places like those values differently.
Okay, so I would disagree with viability as a line, just because you probably heard me earlier describing that, like, a newborn baby is not viable on its own. It can't survive on its own without a caretaker. And my moral intuitions tell me that you can't kill a newborn baby.
Yeah. I mean, so obviously there are different levels of viability, right? There's viability of living in the womb. There's viability of needing breast milk. And then there's viability of like needing food and water every 5 days or so, right? So I guess just the majority's moral intuitions, right? Like 80% of people in the developed world say that abortion before 4 to 6 months is completely okay. Like I think in America it's 66%, in a lot of European countries it's closer to 80%, right? So it's very clear that human beings' moral intuition puts it there, and that's kind of where these moral...
I don't think that we should go off of like majority opinion, right? Because there was a point in this country's history where the majority opinion indicated to us that people's moral intuition said that it was totally fine to like enslave people and make them work on cotton fields all day, which I don't agree with.
So I think that's why it's important to have like a unified framework, right?
Yeah.
Like, for example, for slavery, what kind of unified framework would allow like the Constitution and allow slavery? I think those things are fundamentally incompatible, which is why they didn't happen. So what
is your unified framework?
That human rights start to begin at that point of viability where you can survive outside of the womb.
And what is the definition of viability?
Just surviving outside of the mother's womb. And I think that's what a lot of people's moral intuitions lead them to. Like me personally and a lot of other people's.
So just the ability to survive outside of the womb. So on its own?
And I do concede that it's completely subjective. It's completely just like a completely random line, or not random, but it is like a subjective line to put. But I'd say that it's no more subjective than putting it at the human life, because as I said, right, like if you ask a 12-year-old what gives something value, they say life, but then obviously they concede that like a human life isn't the same as a hamster, so then what gives a human life more value, right? Then they say consciousness, but then no, do we want to kill vegetables? No. Yeah. So then we come to human life, and obviously
I would say, is this the ability to live independently outside of the mother's womb, or just...
I mean, I think you're getting really stuck up on definitions. What I'm really trying...
Well, I want to, because we didn't know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Is it the ability to live independently outside of the mother's womb?
Not, like, I know you're focusing on this word independently. I don't think that's true. I just think, because independent, again, there are different levels of independence.
I'm just asking, right? Does your definition mean the ability to live independently?
It just means the ability to exist and live. Not independently.
Well, you
could be plugged into like some random machine, for example.
For how long?
I mean, to like grow and develop and become a normal human being.
Okay, so in order to, so there's no time limit.
I mean, what do you mean by time limit?
So like,
do you specify?
Does the being need to be able to survive on its own for a certain duration of time outside the womb in order for it to get rights in your view?
I mean, I do think that it should not be like placed back into the womb. Like, you can develop externally outside of the womb, right? Like maybe you're plugged into a machine for like 3 or 4 months, and then after that, once you're like 9 months old, like.
But like what I'm getting at basically is like if a fetus could be removed from the mother's womb and survive for 2 seconds, does that mean it gets human rights?
I mean, no.
So there has to be a time limit then. Like it has to be able to survive for X amount of time.
Like viable in the sense that it can grow and develop. And I mean, like, I guess 2 seconds is like a stretch, but like at least like a couple months, a couple of days. Like, I mean, yeah, these are arbitrary laws, and I haven't thought about what you specifically said. I think it's an arbitrary law.
And what if it has like a caretaker? Like, because in most cases, a baby will have to attach itself to its mother's breast and suck nutrients out of out of the mother in order to survive.
Yeah.
In the same way that a fetus has to basically have nutrients delivered to it.
Again, that was the point that I was making of different levels of independence and different levels of viability, right? Like, I would not say that I'm independently viable on an island that has nothing but sand, right? Like, I die. Does that mean that I have no moral worth?
No, but you are still viable in the sense that if there is food available in the world to you, if there is food available to you in the world, you are capable of seeking it and delivering it to yourself.
I don't think that morality is based on the fact that there's food available in the world. I think that's
I don't either.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't either, which is exactly my point. Is why I think all humans deserve rights regardless of what state they're at or what they're capable of doing.
And I'm not saying that, like, again, morality is subjective, right? It's very clear that, like, this is just the point that I'm trying to drill in, and I'm sorry that I'm repeating it. But, like, everyone, like, in the developed world, like, a very, very, very clear majority of people have a unified moral framework.
But again, I don't think the majority opinion matters. Because, again, like, the majority opinion at one time was that people should be enslaved.
I'm just trying to say that there is like, for example, like, when you talked about slavery, right? There was a very clear cognitive dissonance with the idea of slavery, because people had believed that every human being had these...
Well, the Constitution actually doesn't say that every man is endowed with these rights from their creator, right? Like, that's a Declaration of Independence. But furthermore, there wasn't a cognitive dissonance because what they simply did to cure that issue was say, well, black people aren't men, right? Even if the Declaration of Independence says that all men are endowed with these certain inalienable rights by their creator,
I mean,
they said, well, they're not men.
I don't think that there was like a big movement that said like black people were a different species. I think they acknowledged that.
Because they viewed them as property.
Because the definition of species is that like you're able to reproduce with another being of that same thing, and it's obvious that like race mixing existed back then.
Right. But the problem is that there was no protection in the Constitution for black people. We had to add it later.
Yeah,
right?
No, but I'm just saying that
there wasn't a cognitive dissonance. But the majority of the people thought that black people were subhuman property that deserved to be enslaved and serve their white masters.
Yeah,
but so that's why I think majority opinion can be flawed, and we shouldn't base our moral beliefs based on what the majority of people think. And this is why
I'm a moral subjectivist, right? Because then you can say, based on today's values, we can say that everyone who owned slaves was a bad person. Christopher Columbus was a bad person. I don't think those are necessarily...
Hey, on his day?
What?
On his day?
I know, yeah. I don't think those are necessarily like crazy statements, or like, I think those aren't like saying that Christopher Columbus wasn't a bad person is wrong, right? Because it was a different time. The moral system there was different. So right now, our developed moral system, which is subjective, and I'll give you that, is that viability, or like viability at 4 to 6 months, the ability to exist outside of the mother's womb, is kind of like the unified moral theory that we have right now. Maybe later we come into a unified moral theory that says like maybe killing animals for meat is wrong, and maybe even we come to a unified moral theory that maybe we're allowed to just take like people at conception and put them into these incubation machines and turn them into humans. Then absolutely, I would have no problem with saying abortion is wrong.
I think I would just fundamentally disagree with you on the line then. But
nice talking to you. I'll try to come to your talk later today.
Yeah.
Really insightful.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello.
Hi, how's it going?
Thanks for coming. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Okay, to start, do you believe in the Christian concept of sin?
Yeah, I'm a new Christian, but like for 2 weeks, I'm not going to like debate you on theology because I don't know a lot about it, but sure.
Okay, well, if you'll humor me, that's my line of argument in this case. Do you agree that in order to sin, something has to have a soul?
I suppose.
Yeah. Would you say that fetuses have souls?
I suppose, but my position is not based on the fetus having a soul.
Okay, no, I think this is a fun argument, so I'm going in this direction. If a fetus
like I said, I've been a Christian for like 2 weeks, so like I'm probably not going to have the answers to these questions.
I understand. If a fetus has a soul, would you say that a fetus can sin?
I don't think that, I wouldn't say that having a soul is what makes you capable of sinning.
Then what makes you capable of sinning?
Being able to govern your body.
Is that not what a soul is?
No, because there are people that have souls that can't govern their bodies, like people who are in comas, for example. They still have souls.
Okay, that's fair. Would you say that but I think that the brain of a fetus, you would agree, can govern its body. A fetus can kick, right?
Sure.
Okay, so if it can govern its body, a fetus can sin, right?
Well, I don't think it's physically capable of sinning at that time,
but
because
you
it can't.
Just said that it had control.
Right, but it physically can't interact with other people. You need to be able to interact with other people in most cases to sin.
What if you have identical twins in a womb and a fetus eats its identical twin? This does happen quite a bit.
Well, that would be like an involuntary. I don't think the fetus is governing it when it does that. And also, it doesn't. They don't eat the fetus. It basically what happens is the fetus usually one becomes dominant, and it kills the other one, not through its own action. It's not taking a knife and it's like it becomes so dominant that the other one doesn't get the resources necessary, and the mother's body converts the nutrients left by the other fetus.
So it's cannibalism then?
No.
No. Why not? You have one thing with a soul that eats another thing.
Because there's no voluntary action, nor does the fetus actually kill the other fetus.
I mean, it causes the other thing to no longer biologically exist by virtue of an action that is performed by a being with a soul. The fetus is not
performing the action.
Then what is performing the action?
Nobody's performing the action.
Then how does the action
it's like saying that if you and I are in a room, a confined room, and this room has limited oxygen, and I take the last breath, which causes you to die, that I killed you. I didn't kill you. You ran out of resources.
Yeah, but that's in this case, that is inevitable in that case. It's
right, and
possible for if you and I are in a room and there's a finite amount of oxygen, it is inevitable for one of us to take the last breath of oxygen. Identical twins are born every day.
But the fetus is not taking the action. Here's what I'm going to tell you, and I think that you came in with what you thought was an infallible line of logic, and it's not, and you should maybe think about it a little bit more and then pose it again, but it's not working.
Okay, why?
Again, because the fetus didn't take the action. The fetus isn't governing its body when the other fetus dies. The other fetus dies because one of them becomes more dominant, not through actions of its own.
Define action in this
Action
case.
is when you consciously decide to do something.
You use the word conscious, right? You use the word conscious. Yes. That means that something does something else.
In order to commit an action, you need to be a moral actor.
Yes.
In order to be a moral actor, you need to be consciously thinking about what you're doing.
Well, going back to the idea of a soul, does the existence of a soul not imply conscious thought? That is what a soul is in Christian theology, right?
I've only been a Christian for 2 weeks. I don't have the answer for you.
Cool. All right, then nice talking to you.
Nice talking to you. Thank
you.
All
right.